Welcome back, infrastructure and security architects. Today, we're putting on our hard hats, and honestly, we're doing a complete teardown to rebuild those network perimeters right from the ground up. This explainer covers part 9 of this seriously phenomenal tutorial on IPv4 and IPv6 transition technologies, architecture security, and firewall designs by Virtualization Options LLC, a Colorado-based technology advisory group. If you're supporting an IPv6 migration right now, you already know the stakes are incredibly high. So today, we're leaving those legacy assumptions at the door and discovering the first principles approach you absolutely need to secure a modern enterprise.
Okay, let's dive into this with a hard, undeniable truth. IPv4 rule sets do not transfer. I really can't stress this enough. The single most dangerous assumption an architect can make during a transition is believing that legacy firewall configs are just going to magically protect new IPv6 traffic. Spoiler alert, they won't. If you try to blindly port those rules over, well, it's basically like leaving your front door wide open while meticulously locking the screen door. We've got to completely shatter that legacy assumption right now if we want to build a truly secure perimeter.
To get us to that secure state, here's our roadmap for today. Section 1 is the legacy rule set fallacy. Section 2, IPv6 first principles. Section 3, shutting down deprecated tunnels. Section 4, evading perimeter controls. And finally, Section 5, the architect's RFC reference.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the legacy rule set fallacy.
There's a really stark contrast between these two approaches. Relying on translated IPv4 rules is super dangerous. Taking an IP table's IPv4 rule and assuming a direct translation works for IP6 tables is honestly a recipe for disaster. You're just leaving entirely new attack surfaces completely exposed. On the other hand, building an explicit first principles policy is the mandatory standard for IPv6 security. You absolutely must explicitly construct your policies based on how IPv6 actually behaves on the wire. We really have to aggressively dispel the myth that a simple copy-paste of your legacy rules is any kind of acceptable security strategy.
Moving right along to Section 2, IPv6 first principles.
So the crucial point is, if we can't just copy our old rules, what exactly do we need to focus on? Well, there are 3 specific pillars here that demand entirely different security handling than their IPv4 counterparts. First up, address translation. The way NAT is handled, or, let's be real, largely avoided in IPv6, totally changes how you view state and boundary protection. Second, ICMPv6 policy. Now, unlike IPv4, where you might have just blocked ICMP entirely to avoid ping sweeps, ICMPv6 is literally mandatory for the protocol to even function. You've got to craft precise policies, guided by standards like RFC 4890, to allow necessary neighbor discovery while actively blocking malicious payloads. And third, NDP and SLA-AC controls. How hosts automatically configure themselves on a network requires strict authorization controls to prevent spoofing and rogue router advertisements. These are your new foundational blocks.
Let's jump into Section 3, shutting down deprecated tunnels.
Now, these older transition technologies are widely deprecated, sure, but they present disproportionate risks in modern networks because, quite frankly, they're designed to bypass standard controls. Take 6 and 4 tunnels, for example. For these, you must block Protocol 41 at all perimeter firewalls. Only permit traffic to and from explicitly documented known 6 and 4 tunnel broker IPs. Next is Teredo. Oh, Teredo is notorious for UDP NAT bypass. You need to explicitly block UDP port 3544, both inbound and outbound at all perimeters. No exceptions. And finally, 6-4. You've got to drop the 2002:/16 prefix right at your IPv6 perimeter. These specific configurations have to be hard-coded at the edge right now to stop legacy tunnels from quietly circumventing your firewall policies.
Which brings us to Section 4, evading perimeter controls. Because here's the thing. When rule sets are incomplete, malicious actors aren't just going to knock politely on the front door. They're going to exploit your blind spots. One of the most fascinating and definitely most dangerous aspects of IPv6 security is the use of extension headers. Attackers weaponize these extension header chains, along with fragmentation, to intentionally obscure malicious payloads. They literally string these headers together to slip right past superficial packet inspection. This is exactly why deep policy enforcement and robust fragment reassembly checks are absolutely mandatory in your firewall design. If your firewall only inspects the first few bytes, an attacker will just push that malicious payload further down the chain.
So, to actually catch these evasions, you need profound visibility. You must deploy an IPv6-capable SIEM paired up with NetFlow or IPFX collection. But listen, Here is the absolutely critical operational detail. Mitigating these evasions requires that your IPFX template sets are explicitly configured to handle and include IPv6 address fields. If your flow records are only capturing 32-bit IPv4 addresses, your SOC is completely blind to the actual source and destination of these modern attacks. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack with your eyes closed.
And, visibility goes hand in hand with inventory. You can't protect what you don't know exists, right? As an architect, you must enact mandatory inventory controls. You have to explicitly document every single transition mechanism in use across your environments. Document every 6 and 4 tunnel. Document every single NAT64 deployment. Document every DS Lite instance. Seriously, if a transition mechanism is just running quietly in some forgotten corner of your infrastructure, it's an unmonitored attack surface that's just waiting to be exploited.
All right, let's wrap up the technical deep dive with Section 5, the Architect's RFC reference.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what you need. To build your actual security policies, you just can't rely on guesswork. This is your ultimate, standard-bearing reading list for securing that enterprise perimeter. RFC 4890 is basically your Bible for filtering ICMPv6 securely. RFC 6105 is going to teach you how to deploy router advertisement guard to prevent rogue routing. RFC 7123 dives deep into how IPv6 impacts your existing IPv4 networks. RFC 9090 provides those overarching operational security considerations, and RFC 9013 outlines the pros and cons of the transition technologies we've been talking about. Print these out, keep them right on your desk, and build your firewall rules based on these explicit standards.
Before we officially wrap up, I just want to briefly acknowledge the rigorous technical research that made this explainer possible. The architectural framework and all those mitigation strategies we discussed today are drawn directly from Chapter 9 of the comprehensive tutorial provided by Virtualization Options LLC. They're a Colorado-based technology research, education, and advisory organization, and honestly, their deep dive into these transition technologies is essential reading for any serious infrastructure professional.
So what does this all mean for you? I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative challenge. Look at your own network and ask yourself, are your IPv6 perimeters truly secure? Or are you just relying on legacy IPv4 assumptions? I strongly urge you to take what we've covered today, the absolute necessity of first principles design, the mandatory shutdown of deprecated tunnels, and those strict RFC guidelines, and go immediately audit your own firewall rule sets. Don't wait for an incident to prove that your legacy rules didn't transfer. Be proactive, be explicitly secure, and start auditing today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.